Never gets old, this. Hey guys, welcome to another video. Following on from Frankfurt last week, as well as all the crazy hypercars, supercars that were there, there were a pair of cars that I was particularly interested in. Not because they're anything ultra special, but more so because they could be potential swaps for my CLA 45. There's been absolutely loads of hype around the new RS3. And rightly so. On paper, it's absolutely mind-blowing, really. You know, what is the hatchback basically? So practical and can annihilate most things on the road with ease, and it's very easy to drive as well. The other car in question was always meant to handle really, really well. It was always going to be a driver's car. So, you know, in one sense, they're actually quite different. They serve different purposes, I suppose. And in Frankfurt, I managed to get up close with both of them because, apart from seeing them on the road, I've not had too much experience with either. I'm yet to actually see a Facelift RS3 on the road just yet. I've seen a few M2s, but never really been up close with them. If you haven't already seen my first video around the Frankfurt Motor Show, come and click. I'll put the link somewhere up here. Check that out. I've not driven either of the two cars just yet. I would love to do that because, you know, seeing a car, being inside it, etc., is one thing, but then actually driving the thing is, you know, it can be completely different. And with these two cars in particular, I think that will be the case, just from, you know, reviews out there already on the internet, and just from predicting it. You know, both brands are known for certain things. You know, Audi is all about refinement and going quick in a straight line. BMW's less about refinement and more about the driving experience, you know, particularly with their M division. So I had some expectations of both cars. But if I were to sum up really quickly what I found with each of the two, I was actually even more impressed with the Audi RS3 and slightly underwhelmed by the M2. So any M2 fanboys out there, sorry. I expected a bit more from it. Anyway, let's get into it. Now, in terms of looks, I would always go for the saloon version for the RS3. I've never really liked the Sportback, and I do like the angry RS styling. It follows through in all the RS range. You know, it's one step up from the S3, as you'd expect. So no real issues there. However, sitting inside the thing, it's ridiculous just how refined it is, and the quality of everything. It's just very well thought out, and it looks more expensive than it is. It's not cluttered. Like, you know, the interior of this is somewhat cluttered. You know, this screen looks like it's an add-on, if I'm honest. Whereas everything in the Audi is so slick, and especially with their new virtual cockpit system, that's really, really nice. Love the new steering wheel with the Alcantara, the great big red start engine button. It all fits together very nicely, and overall I was just, you know, I loved sitting inside the RS3. And you know, when you're driving a car, you don't get to see the outside when you're driving. you're inside and you want it to be a nice place. In the CLA 45, I think it's probably in the middle. It's definitely not as nice as the Audi interior, but it's definitely better than the BMW interior. Anyway, walking around it, it's all very spacious, very practical. You don't have that sloping roof line, so you can get taller passengers in the back. So overall, I'd say it's definitely more practical than this. There has been a facelift of the M2 that comes, I think it's basically the 2018 M2, but from as far as I could tell, the only things that stand out immediately are you've got different lights, and inside the dials are slightly different. Nothing major, if I'm honest. It's really minute changes, nothing like Audi's virtual cockpit. So overall, it basically looks the same. I always knew the M2 interior was never that great. You know, just from literally when it first came out, I was kind of underwhelmed with it. The one that was on display, the one that sat inside, was the M2 with the M performance parts, so it had quite a lot of carbon around. And even then, it didn't look that. In this day and age, against its rivals such as, you know, Audi, Merc, etc., it just didn't seem up to scratch, basically. The carbon and everything was all a nice touch, but I can imagine that's pretty expensive, so you know, you take all that away and it's even more dull. And I was actually also surprised by how cramped it is, in a sense. You know, from the outside, the M2, it's got these flared wheel arches, super aggressive aero styling, etc., that gives the appearance that it's a big car. But then when you strip that away and you sit inside, there's not that much space, especially in the back. It does look pretty cramped in the back. And obviously, I know it's a 3-door and everything, but that was quite a big surprise. And you know, if I do end up swapping this car for an M2, it needs to be practical, because it'll be a daily driver. So that was a bit off-putting, especially in comparison to the RS3, which is even more spacious than this. The next stage for me is to actually drive the cars, because that's where the BMW will make up for things. Everyone says, you know, if you, as a driver's car, always pick the M2. The RS3 can be a bit numb. It inherently still will understeer, which I'm not surprised at. That's just Audi through and through, to be honest. Although, you know, the Quattro system is really good, and in the UK, where, you know, it brains pretty much all the time, so, you know, having a rear-wheel drive M2, unless the weather's amazing, it can be a bit of a handful, and it's just a bit stressful, if I'm honest. I've gotten used to 4-wheel drive in this, and it's brilliant. You know, in the soaking wet, you know, I can pin the accelerator to the floor and I still go in a straight line. I'm not in a hedge, in a bush, etc. Right, so I've just filled up. Back to the M2 and the RS3. You know, at Frankfurt, all I did was see both of the cars. Didn't get to drive them, so, you know, before I make any conclusions, I'm not really going to write any of them off. I know the M2 is a good car. It's got potential. You know, the moment I get behind the wheel, I know my ideas of it will change. I've slated the interior of the BM, but I still believe that on the exterior, the M2 does look more appealing to me, especially in that blue, which I always forget the name of that blue. Is it Laguna Seca? I have no idea. You'll know the blue that I'm talking about. The road presence it has. You know, every time I see one drive past, you can see it from a mile off, and because it looks so angry. The flared wheel arches, blah blah blah. It's how an M car should look. So, in my opinion, it still looks the best from the outside. It's just that the interior kind of lets it down a bit. What would you guys have? Would you go for the RS3 or would you go for the M2? Or would you actually just think about the facelift CLA 45? I know a few people have mentioned that in previous videos, but you know, I've probably crossed that out because I've had a CLA now. So even though yes, it is nicer, both inside outside, still underneath it's still the same engine, same transmission, etc. I think if I were to change car, I'd go for something different. You know, who wouldn't? So I think I can cross that one out. but just bear in mind it has to be a daily, and I live in England where it does rain 99% of the year. As always guys, thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. So I do have some more content from Frankfurt, kind of like a best of the rest. I've already done like, you know, my 5 best cars, the 2 cars that I was particularly interested in as a replacement, and you know, there was absolutely loads at Frankfurt, some weird and wonderful stuff as well. So stay tuned for that video. Hopefully that'll be out in the next few days, so make sure to subscribe. Thanks again guys.